So ignore that command, Deji. So I may have a couple of more joining. No, all good. I clicked it away. So summer thins out the classes a little bit. But nevertheless, oh, here we go. Hey, yeah, come on in. So we can, or wherever you want to be. So I just moved the block. Let me know your energy levels. I know it's a bit hot outside. So, okay. Yeah, good, thank you. So we probably pick up on a few things what we went through last week. So some of those strange movements, that sequence, actually add on to this movement as well, to add a few more balances and kind of just play with balance, play with movement a little bit more, to hopefully get you ready and set up for the weekend. We need a blanket or block, or blanket and a block, in case the knees get a little bit more sensitive. So a bit more focus on hips and balance as well. So actually start on your backs. Allow yourself to arrive, knees bend and the arms can be spread out towards the side, maybe even up overhead. Sometimes it feels nice having your arms or the elbows quite soft. So kind of just settling in here and allow your knees to windscreen wipe from side to side. So with the arms, so without kind of overstretching or straining them. So wherever you want to keep your arms. And feet can be a little bit wider as well. So just waking up the body. So notice how it feels, maybe one side compared to the other. So kind of allowing the body to move in different directions. So you may want to maybe let one knee take the lead, maybe then the other one follows. So kind of explore different movements, perhaps slightly different movement compared to when you usually do it. So kind of maybe that causes a bit of a sensation in your inner thigh. Notice maybe if one leg leads, how the other one naturally follows, because the pelvis actually tips a little bit from one side to the other. So literally just checking in how you feel on this Friday morning. So it looks like it's the beginning of quite a couple of weeks of really hot and sunny weather. So take it at your own pace, always come down perhaps to child's pose or rest, have a drink of water whenever it suits. So kind of just taking you through various movements and bring that focus back into the body, into the breath. So as always, adjust the practice how you see fit. So maybe you want to bring even your head in the opposite direction as your knees drop to the left, your head goes to the right, or even if you just remain still, allow just perhaps your neck to roll from one ear to, or your head to roll from one ear towards the other. So a few movements here. So we're spending a little bit more time on warming up the hips. So stay with those movements, even with your breath, for perhaps 3 or 4 more rounds. And then once you finish, bring that movement back to center. So your knees are pointing up. Bring your arms onto your belly, perhaps just above your navel center. And make a fist and bring your pinkies together so that your pinky finger touch. So with a slight pressure. So your elbows, shoulders relaxed. So while you're pressing or applying gentle pressure against the tops of your pinkies. So breathe in and out through your nose. And literally notice, where does the breath move into your body? So which areas does the breath actually cover? So what we're doing with our hands is part of hand gestures, mudras. And they have that power to direct energy and breath into different areas in our bodies. So stay with that breath, perhaps for another 2 rounds. 1 inhale, 1 exhale, 1 round. So long, full, complete inhales and exhales. And then release your pinky. Bring your ring fingers together. So if it feels okay, slightly curl the remaining fingers or just keep them rested on your belly. So again, slight pressure of your ring finger against each other. And let the breath flow in and out through your nose. Shoulders, elbows relaxed. So we're actually literally bringing the breath all the way down into the pelvic floor, and now moving the breath actually literally up higher into the rest of the body. So stay for 2 more breaths with your with your ring fingers pressing against each other. And then release those ring fingers, middle fingers. Again, you can curl the remaining fingers so they feel comfortable, or keep them rested, keep them relaxed. Middle fingers press. So sense, where's the breath in the body? Maybe it has moved up slightly towards the lower ribs, tops of your lungs. So stick with that breath for another 2 rounds. So without forcing it, perhaps even visualize. And then release your middle finger, index finger next. So you can, depending on fingernails, you can even slightly bend your fingers. So make it accessible. So pressing the fingers, the index fingers, the tops of your index fingers against each other. So bring the breath more up into the chest area. So a bit like a lift, we're lifting the breath from the pelvic floor, lower abdomen, up towards the chest. 1 more breath here with your index fingers pressing against each other. And then release. Last one here, the thumb. So kind of that your hands feel rested, your fists, your arms, your shoulders. You may even want to perhaps move your thumbs slightly lower. Perhaps your hands rest around your navel center. So pressing the thumbs together and breathing in and out through your nose. Perhaps the breath is now moving up north towards your collarbones. So stick with that breath for another 2 rounds, please. So really nourishing, bringing that breath into the whole torso. And then release your thumbs, bringing it all together. So without again straining your hands, bring your index, your ring fingers, middle finger, index finger, thumbs together. So you're holding kind of as if you're just gently holding or cupping your hands. So keep them rested on your belly, wherever they are. So bringing all those different areas together. So you can even gently apply a little bit more pressure maybe into your pinky, into a certain finger, maybe where you want to have a bit more focus as the breath moves quite holistically, wholly into your torso. Good. So if you feel maybe a little bit overwhelmed or waking up in the middle of the night, you can perhaps come back to one of those breaths, maybe the pinky. So you bring the breath down into the belly. Good. From here, release your hands, maybe kind of open and close your wrist, maybe shake out your hands. Bring your knees in towards your chest. Maybe bring your nose towards your knees. Have a little bit of a rock, or just mobilizing the spine, your hips. And then bring your left foot down and move through some kind of generous circles through your right hip. So they could be small, they could be big. So notice how it feels. So you can take your right knee out towards the floor, and depending how your leg feels, you may want to let go of your knees, so almost let it freely circle. If there's space, you may just want to stretch it out, extend it out to the side. So you can bring it even up, all the way out. So again, depends how the hip feels. So as you may work against the weight of your legs, you can stretch it out. So maybe notice, perhaps keep your left hand on your left hip bone. So if the pelvis tilts with your leg going out towards the right, so that you isolate that movement. Good, one more breath here, and then extend that right leg all the way up towards the ceiling. Flex and point your right foot. So bringing that kind of release into the back of your thigh. And then place your right foot down, second side, hug your left knee in. So again, start by kind of just noticing, how does your left hip feel, your left leg? And then you can guide your left knee, keeping your left hand on your left shin, your left kneecap, or you can let it freely circle. So you may want to explore bigger circles, taking the leg out to the side. You can extend it, you can straighten it out. So explore your different movements. Good. And then bringing that left leg all the way up, flexing, pointing through the left foot. So releasing, maybe you can even give it a bit of a shake, circling, flexing, pointing. Good. And then bring that foot back down, hug your knees once more into the chest, so you can decide whether you want to rock up to a seated position or you want to just roll over to one side. So we meet back in a seated position. So again, depending how it feels, you can sit cross-legged, you can have the outer edges together. So kind of just allowing the body to circle, maybe to sway, maybe just to roll, maybe just to rock. So kind of visualize you're a bit like free as the wind, maybe a branch in the wind. So keep that softness. So we're working a little bit more with fluidity today as we are coming onto all fours. So your neck, your head can be a little bit heavy. So kind of just sensing, maybe going the opposite direction, leaning further forward, sitting back. You can hold onto your knees if you wish. So just bring that movement in. And then bring one hand down, let your arm come up and over. Again, just softness. So maybe just want to sway, lengthening. So visualize you're really stretching, you're releasing the side. So your neck always in a place that feels good. Lovely. One more on each side. Oh. And then bring that arm behind your back. So kind of place it just above your, where your kidneys are. And so if you have your right arm behind your back, or it doesn't matter which one, so take your head away from that arm that's behind your back. So tilting it over to the opposite side, breathing into that stretch you create through the neck, through the upper back. So perhaps slowly adjust your head. Instead of keeping your head tilted, perhaps keep it tilted and then also slightly turn very slowly. So you're looking down towards the opposite knee. Breathe into that sensation. And then coming back and bring your head back to center. Release your arm. So second side, bring it behind your back. Kind of find that posture that works. Tilt your head away from that arm. Breathe into that sensation. So maybe you want to explore. So perhaps gently tilt that, your gaze, bring it down towards the earth. Few breaths, releasing anything that feels tight. And then bringing your head back to center all the way up. Oh, good. So perhaps a couple of shoulder rolls. Naturally, anything you feel like doing could be a bit more rolling, could be just letting them jump up and down. Good. And then transition over to all fours. So knees about hip distance apart. And bring that softness into the body. So tabletop circles, you can shift the bottom back, you can circle more towards the left, to the right, keeping the elbows bent, moving into the shoulders. So kind of that spider movement as you allow just that mobility to come back into your body, clearing out anything that feels a bit tender, a little bit soft. Naturally move into some cat and cows. So perhaps instead of rocking sideways, drawing the spine up and then dipping the belly down. Perhaps you want to sit all the way back towards child's pose, maybe hover, squeezing the shoulder blades together, coming back up to tabletop. So keep it soft, keep it fluid. If you want to move, you can also stay more in that tabletop posture, maybe stretching out. But like a cat, you can even walk your hands further towards your knees, really pushing into your hands and rounding your spine if that feels. So you're literally drawing those shoulder blades apart, away from each other. So explore different ways to move through cat and cows. You may want to bring your hands further forward. So if you round your spine and then sit back, that gives you a nice stretch from your fingertips towards your tailbone. Perhaps then swim through, hover. Good. So with your hands perhaps way forward from underneath your shoulders. So perhaps slowly begin to even just, without dipping the hips down completely, so just a little bit of that core mobilization, then shift the bottom back. So you're literally moving almost slowly towards into a little bit of a cobra as you move towards the floor, but in a very controlled way. So at any point you may actually come back onto your belly, have more of a floating cobra, pushing back into tabletop and towards child's pose. So we are literally moving between tabletop, that floating cat and cow, child's pose, and a bit of cobra. So bring that fluidity into the body. So everyone perhaps has their own way of doing things, and that's absolutely fine. So it's about coming into your body, playing with different movements, combining them. And just be more aware of when you transition to the floor to take it slowly and let the belly also take a role, let the core kick in, and even your arms, more like an arm balance as you slowly lower down, lifting up into that cobra, pressing into your hands. And at any point you can even pause and actually sit back in your version of child's pose. So give yourself permission to play in a way with different movements, but also to find that rest too, which could even be on your belly, so which could even be in cobra. So I give you a couple of more moments just to warm up the body. So we are 70-80% water. So let those water molecules shift in the body. So also acknowledge how you feel, acknowledge maybe even the weather outside. So, and perhaps with your next breath, so we're all back on the same page, transition into tabletop. And so you can turn actually sideways on your mat. So just turn in a way that you still see me. So take a blanket, please. So I'll show you where we're going. So you can also take a block if you don't have a blanket. So we're starting literally with one knee on the block or on the blanket, coming up into a kneeling position. And instead of putting the foot forward, we're taking it out to the side. So as I indicated, we're working a little bit with hips. So you slowly actually turn or move towards that side. So we are stretching through the inner thighs, through the groin. So it's a slightly different muscle. Those are those adductor muscles. So when we actually sit, for example, in that cross-legged position and knees are still a little bit higher up because those muscles on the inside are quite tight, we begin to literally with that posture release those inner thigh muscles. So you may want to just move in and out of the posture. You can explore how does the posture feel. Maybe even bring the top arm in. Maybe have a bit of a stretch, perhaps then coming back. So leaning over, maybe even staying here for 1 or 2 breaths, shifting back. So, and even notice your foot. So I'm just exaggerating. If your foot is here, so your knee goes over your foot. So perhaps have that knee over your ankle. That gives you almost the best stretch into that posture. So if it feels accessible, and you can always take the block, you may want to add on from here. So you may almost go in a different direction, come into a little bit of a stretch. So the block helps you by way of bringing the floor up. You can bring it onto different levels. So then you kind of seesaw back into that first posture. So you can stretch out, play with that top arm as you release. So if you feel a bit more energetic, maybe even from here, flex that foot, lift, and almost bring elbow and knee together. So it's for those who want a little bit more of a strength or playing even with balance. So it is also balance in that sense. So maybe just enjoy that stretch here in both ways. So having the foot flexed literally helps without having the weight pulling on that hip. So the moment your leg is completely almost stable, static, it feels easier and more controlled without pulling on any ligaments or even just perhaps on any vertebra in your spine. Lovely. Take one more here wherever you are. Good. And then step back. You can stay on the spot. You can turn around a couple of tabletop circles. So optional here. You may already lift up into a little bit of a downward dog, pedal out your feet. So have a bit of a stretch. Good. So again, give you a couple of moments to explore if you want to be in downward dog. Maybe you're on tabletop circles or maybe on child's pose. So kind of pick what feels good for you today. And I'll let you know when we are moving on to the second side. You can even do your whole, probably almost a bit of a sequence. If you come into downward dog onto your knees, maybe from what we did at the beginning. So perhaps into your cobra, that rounding. Instead of staying in tabletop, maybe then lift up into downward dog. So bring knees down, lower all the way down. Traveling through that cobra, tabletop, downward dog. So it also helps you to kind of see, oh, what could I try? So which is maybe then the first step, even to a home practice where you just roll your mat out so that you transition between those postures. Good. And wherever you are, so slowly transition to a tabletop and then come back to the second side. So again, you can turn around or you can stay there if it's not too slippery. The second knee, so have it a little bit more padded. Turn your foot really out away from you. And then explore kind of just tilting to that side to bring more of that stretch into the body. So you can lean forward or to the side. Maybe even bringing that top arm up and over. So in that process, you may already change the block to the opposite side. So kind of just explore, experiment with movement, balance, stretch. So even as you transition from one side to the other, engage your core. So kind of use that awareness of your core to come up. So do a couple of rounds here. Yeah, perhaps even then lift, maybe elbow towards knee. So perhaps staying here for 1 or 2, if you wish to do it, stretching out. Good. What's that body awareness? How does it feel in the body? And each side may respond differently. So perhaps take 2 more here on whichever way you're traveling. Good. And again, then transition onto all fours. You can remove the block or the blanket. So perhaps a little bit of tabletop circles and moving eventually into downward dog. So again, you can perhaps, as we are about to transition from downward dog, then after a couple of breaths into standing, but take yourself time to maybe explore those cross feet as you step one foot over the other. Maybe even lift perhaps one leg up, stretching up high. Good. So explore again here. How does it feel? So slow almost is the new strong. Again, just kind of play with different movements, positions. Bring your palms down. That's always your thumb might snap off. Good. And we begin to get ready to walk our feet towards the hands. So as you walk towards the front of your mat, keep your knees bent, stay in it forward fold for a couple of breaths. So kind of just perhaps bringing elbows together, have a little bit of a rock, a little bit of a sway. So bring the chin towards the chest to release that neck completely. So perhaps you kind of just sway from the left to the right shin or calf. So kind of just that hugging here, rocking, and then release your arms and transition up to standing. Good. So kind of just take a moment to land. Good. So perhaps even having a drink or anything. So good. Okay. And perhaps arrange the blocks so it's actually at the front of your mat, so that we don't need to maneuver around. So from the front of your mat, step back with your right foot, please. So you come into that high lunge where the right heel is lifted. So your hips are lined forward. So it's some of you have done that sequence last week. So we are literally adding on from here. So front knee is bent. Keep your upper body quite straight. Bring your right arm forward, left arm back. You can make fists. So one fist draws back. So kind of change. So it's boxing, punching. So keeping here even that balance. You can always adjust your foot. So it's kind of balanced, stable. And then keep your right arm forward, left arm back. You're turning into warrior two. Try to turn on your right foot. Draw your right hand back as your left hand is forward. Palm is up, left palm is up. So from here, left arm reaches up, right arm down, and then travel your arms around so they are parallel towards one another. And then shifting your bottom back, bending through your right knee, lifting your left foot, and then spread your arms out wide. So you're leaning forward, a bit like the Tai Chi. So you're almost like putting your boundaries down. Bring your left foot down again. Wipe with your right hand towards the floor. Turn onto your right foot, right arm forward, left arm back. So boxing here again. So we're doing 2 more. So adjust your feet. Perhaps so you have that stability, even perhaps the back knee a little bit bent. So make it more of a movement really coming from the upper back. So there's more of a twist perhaps happening through the upper back. And we're stopping in with right arm forward, left arm back. Turn into warrior two. So right arm reaches back, left arm forward, palm, left palm up. Left arm reaches up, right arm points towards the floor. So bring them into those parallel arms. And then drawing the right arm up, left arm down, left hand facing towards your left foot as your left toes are lifted. Left foot down. Turn and forward. Bring your hand down as if you're sweeping the floor. Good. Back into those high lunge. Have that punching. Maybe visualize something, someone. Helps. And then right arm forward, left arm back. Turn onto your right foot, back to warrior two, left palm up. Turn your left arm up, right arm faces down, and the arms are more parallel. Those equal signs. Bend your right knee. Left arm points towards your left foot, right arm up. Good, and bring your left foot down. Bring your right hand closer towards the floor as you turn onto your right foot. So staying here, walk your right foot in. Find that balance still with your same arm. So you're lifting up into that warrior three. You may want to pretend you're kind of running. So you can bring your arms out into that running. So you're even bending that knee. You may even want to lift up to standing, coming back into that balance. So again, play with balance, play with movement, keep it soft, even if standing leg can be quite bent. And then slowly transition the right foot down. Hands onto your hips, moving into that pyramid pose as you begin to lean forward. So both legs are straight. Bend your front knee, coming up to standing. Good. So hips go back. Couple of breaths. And then front knee bends, left arm coming back up. So last one here is you may want to actually release your arms. You may want to bring them down. You can perhaps even take the block to hold you. So whatever feels accessible. So keep that back quite straight. Hands can also rest on your front thigh. One more breath here. And then begin to bend your left knee a little bit further as you bring your hands down. Step back into downward dog. It's a bit of a kind of walk here as you stretch through your heels. And then bring your knees down, child's pose. For your version of child's pose, knees can always be a little bit further apart. So the lower back kind of drops nicely into that gap. Breathing in and out through your nose. Almost let your body surrender to the earth. Breathe into your upper back. Good, 3 more breaths. And then find your way back up into tabletop and downward dog. So maybe a little bit of play in downward dog. So any movement, you can cross your feet over. You can turn onto your toes. And then once more, walk your feet towards your hands as you get to the top. Stay for a couple of forward folds for a couple of breaths. So again, the neck can be soft. You can even use the block perhaps to rest your hands on the block. So make it quite accessible, make it almost restful. So a couple of breaths here. And then slowly rise up. So just take a moment to land. Let blood pressure adjust. Good. So, second side. So from the front of your mat, step your left foot back, please. Again, the left heel is lifted. So kind of find your stability here. You may want to just let the left heel move up and down. So just to get a feeling even for that hip flexor. So then find your stable high lunge. Left arm forward, right arm back. So again, let those punches, because you can really use your upper body in that sense where you may feel a stretch here. So you're really reaching forward. Good. Focus. Keep your abdominals also engaged. And then stopping here, left arm forward, right arm back. Warrior 2. So you turn onto your left foot, left arm reaches back, right arm forward. Good. And left arm down, right arm up. And then cross them over. So in the same time, shifting your weight into your left foot as you bend your left knee and extend the right arm forward, left arm up. Good. Then bring your right foot down. Bring your left hand down as you turn onto your left foot back into high lunge. Find your focus and again. So always adjust your feet. Make it more of that twist through the upper back. And then left arm forward, right arm back. Focus. Mentally prepare yourself to lift into warrior 2. So left arm reaches back, right arm forward, right palm up. Right arm up, left arm down, and cross them over. Shifting your weight back, left knee bends and stretching forward. Good, 1 breath here. And then bring your right foot down. Turn onto your left foot as you swoop your arm through. Couple of punches here. Always adjust for balance. Good. Left arm forward, right arm back. Breathe. And turn onto your left foot. Reach your left arm back, right arm forward. Right arm up, left arm down. Cross them over. And then pushing back, left arm reaches up, right arm forward. So bring your right foot down again. Turn, and as you swoop your left arm forward. Hold that posture here. And step your left foot in as you move into kind of that running warrior 3. So perhaps you want to even lengthen, reach up. So then play with different movements. Maybe you want to stay halfway still. So perhaps you want to stop at any point. Perhaps you want to straighten it. So explore different ways of moving. Good. And then eventually get ready to place your left foot down. So moving into pyramid pose. So hands onto your hips as your bottom reaches back, you lean forward. So almost just testing the waters. How does your front leg feel? Breathe. Bend your front knee, come up to standing. So moving literally into a couple of longer holds. So the hips shift back as you lean forward. Breathe into the back of your thigh. Good, last breath here. Coming back up as you bend your front knee. And the third one, more but like that free movement, you can stay here, you can bring your hands down, so stay clear of your knee joint, maybe even walking the block in. So keeping the back nice and straight. Breathe into your hamstrings. You can always have a soft bend in your knee or the knee more bent as you work towards straightening it. Lovely, one more breath. And then begin to bend your knee a little bit more. Transition your hands down as you step back into warrior, into a downward dog. Maybe a little bit of a wiggle. And then bring your knees down. Child's pose. So a couple of breaths here as you let the breath move into different areas of your body. So where should it go? Where does it need to go? Perhaps into your hips, maybe into your back, maybe into your shoulders. So stick with those long, full, slow breaths. So you could also work towards lengthening the exhale, make it slightly longer. So this brings all the systems in the body out of that sympathetic doing mode back more into the being mode. Stay for 3 more breaths. And from here, slowly rise back up into a kneeling position. So we're moving from here into pigeon pose, but there are different variations of pigeon pose. So if you find that posture, so perhaps just a reminder, pigeon pose is where you're in that posture. You can even use the block so as a support. If it's too weight bearing on your knee, you can come into the seated position. You can even come onto your back. So it's the same posture. So for pigeon, so from tabletop, you draw your right knee towards your right wrist, shuffle your right foot towards the center of your mat, and then walk your left foot back. You can even use the blanket and pop it underneath that right butt cheek. You may come onto your forearms. So you can even use the block for your forehead to rest on. You may want to bring your head all the way down. So kind of just make it accessible. And if you aren't pigeon and at any point it feels perhaps too strong on your knee or on any other body part, then come out of that posture, please. So support your forehead. So let it either be on the block, or maybe make one fist or bring one fist on top of the other, resting your forehead. So let the posture naturally unfold. So there's a lot of tension residing in our hips. Use your breath again, especially the exhale. So with that release of your out breath, the body may sink a little closer towards the floor, taking away anything that feels heavy. Let's stay for perhaps 3 more breaths on the first side. And then coming out by coming up with onto your hands, onto your thighs, maybe curl the back toes under as you lift your knees, step it slightly forward, and then shift it back into tabletop. Couple of perhaps tabletop circles, maybe a bit of a sway from side to side to come back into kind of bring the hips back into their original position. And whenever you're ready, do the second side. So you may want to slide your left knee towards your left wrist, shuffle your left foot towards the center of your mat, and walk the right foot back. You may want to use the block or your palms, or even perhaps both, as you settle in here. Perhaps focus on the breath coming in and out through your nose. If the sensations are strong, perhaps let the breath out through a wide mouth. So breathing in through your nose and perhaps out through pursed lips or out through a wide mouth. Stay for another 2 breaths if that feels okay. And then come slowly back onto your wrists, onto your palms. Perhaps curl the back toes under, shift the weight forward. A couple of tabletop circles. Good. And from here, coming into one more, or more like a combined posture. So I'll probably show you where we are going. You can even use the blanket. So we're starting on our bellies, and bring your right knee out towards the side. So as much as it feels accessible, so you may be more 90 degrees, perhaps softening here. So eventually from here, you may already lie like this if that feels accessible. So you may even stretch your left arm forward, because eventually we will turn into a twist. So where we are coming into the twist. But you can start with your right knee perhaps out as much as it feels okay, allowing the hip to release. So you can even use the blanket, and from the blanket here, it may even feel a bit like a slide and glide. So you can even shift it up and down a bit so that your right knee rests on your blanket. And given the floor is a little bit more slippery, you may adjust your knee. You may bring it high up. You may let it float further down. So allowing the hip to release here. Once more, the groin, the inner thigh. So stay for another 5 breaths if that feels okay. And if you haven't got your left arm threaded through already, then keep your right knee where it is. Thread your left arm through your right armpit, and then roll onto your back so the right knee stays in that twist, pointing towards the left side. So you're rolling onto your back. So the right arm reaches up. Your left hand may eventually rest on your outer right knee as you're in that twist. So you can roll all the way over to your back. You may probably have to shuffle back onto the center of your mat, and you can bring your left hand onto the outside of your right thigh. So it's that twist. So keeping that same knee, literally, that's you had stretched out towards the side. So probably the right knee. So the right knee is in that twist. You start with the right knee out, didn't you? Yeah. So again, bring the right knee over, and you can rest your left hand on the outside of your right knee. That's it. And yeah. You can even bring your knee all the way down. So kind of find that in between where you want to feel more the stretch. You can, yeah. So it's just a fancy way of coming into the twist. Breathe into that right waist ribcage area. So your left arm can act as that lever for your right knee. So stay for perhaps 2 more breaths in that twist. And then coming out of the posture, you can almost roll back onto your front. Just bring the arm through, bring your knee back in again. So you're back on your front. And then second side, so bring your left knee out into a position that feels accessible. So you can stay with both arms forward, or you may already scoop your right arm through. It's a bit of a stretch for your shoulder, for your upper back. So it feels a bit pretzely, but if it feels accessible, then you can already stay here, almost reaching that arm through as you let the left hip release. 2 more breaths and that hip release. And if you haven't scooped that right arm through yet, then kind of thread it through as you roll onto your back, and your right arm then settles into that twist, resting on your left knee, on the outside of your left knee. A few nourishing breaths. Good. And after the next breath, you can untangle, untwist out of your posture so you can stay on your back exactly where you are. You may want to bring your knees back in, perhaps if you want to curl together like a little ball again before you stretch out into relaxation. So knees can be bent or legs stretched out. You can take the blanket underneath your head or even rest it just across your abdomen. Feel the whole weight of your body melting into the earth. Bring your awareness to the top of your head. Feel the weight, the back of your head against the floor. Soften your neck, sides of your neck, the back of your neck. And release the shoulders away from your ears. Softening your chest, your upper arms, elbows, forearms, wrists, thumbs, index fingers, middle fingers, ring fingers, and pinky finger. Rest your awareness at your fingertips. And let your mind's eye travel back up towards your shoulders. Soften your chest, lungs and heart center, your rib cage, abdomen, pelvis, hip bones, thighs, knees, shins and calves, your ankles, tops of your feet, soles of your feet, toes, big toe, second toe, third toe, fourth toe, fifth toe. Rest your awareness at your toes. And then draw your breath from your toes all the way up towards the crown of your head. And let the out breath wash down again towards the tops of your toes. Breathing up into the crown of your head. Breathing down into the tops of your toes. So continue at your own pace, breathing up and down your body. And eventually rest your breath at your heart center. Breathing in and out of your heart. Breathe in anything you're in need of. And breathe out anything that feels heavy you want to let go of. So from here, very slowly and gradually, bring deeper breaths back into your whole body. Bring movement back into your fingers, your toes, your hands, your feet. If you wish to rock your head from side to side, rocking now from left ear towards the right ear. Just bring movement back into your neck. Maybe stretching the arms up and overhead. Stretching from fingertips to toes. And then in your own time, bring your knees back into your chest. Maybe have a rock or two. And then allow yourself to roll over to one side and stay in that recovered position for a couple of breaths. Good. And then find your way back up into any seated position. Good. So bring both hands onto your heart center. So you can silently repeat after me. May I be happy? May I be healthy? May I be safe? May I be strong? You can bring your palms together, rest them at your heart center. Thank yourself for making time this morning. Namaste.